There is a form of consecration that makes dark powers pack their bags and vacate places they thought were theirs for generations. Many believers assume every fast is the same, a simple pause from meals, but the realm of shadows does not share that opinion. They have guarded this secret from the people of God for centuries, because this practice is not hunger for hunger's sake. It is entry into a current of spiritual authority that makes the unseen world shake with dread. What you are about to learn is not a theory. It is a roadmap to authority that alters atmospheres, resets patterns, and marks your life with a heat that cannot be ignored. The agenda of darkness thrives on one straightforward principle: keep you ruled by your impulses so your spirit remains sleepy. Here is what the enemy already knows and fears. When a sincere believer engages in purposeful fasting, the scaffolding of opposition surrounding that person begins to come apart. It is like pulling a master pin and watching the structure collapse under its own weight. Today you are going to uncover 4 expressions of fasting that cause the underworld to tremble, and you will also understand why a rhythm of fasting should become part of your way of life rather than a rare emergency response. The first expression that terrifies the adversary is a fast braided with intense prayer and wholehearted worship. Something very specific happens when you combine these. As you quiet the appetites of the body and give your breath to prayer, your inner life steps into the presence of God with unusual clarity. In that nearness, the Spirit of God begins to cut through cords you did not even realize were there. Some of those cords were woven for years. The enemy is patient. He plants seeds of defeat, layers habits upon habits, and builds subtle systems designed to hold you beneath your calling. He works in cycles and routines, so gradual you barely notice the slope. Fasting with prayer disrupts those routines like a storm front moving through still air. When you fast and pray with focus, everything the enemy constructed against your assignment begins to break. A teaching of Jesus says that every planting not established by the Father will be pulled up from the root. This is the spiritual physics of a prayerful fast. It does not merely trim the branches of a problem. It reaches under the soil and removes the root network that kept the problem alive. That is why the opponent of your soul dreads this practice. It reduces years of slow sabotage into days of demolition. Think of the patterns that have outlived seasons and resolutions. Many of them linger not because they are only practical problems, but because spiritual pressure has been reinforcing them. Simple words were not enough to move them. Consecrated hunger changes the leverage. It shuts down the source that kept those patterns fed. There are situations that will not yield to casual petitions. You sensed it already. Inside you is the memory that certain chains only respond when the body joins the prayer. When you engage a real fast, the spiritual powers propping up that issue are forced to release their grip. That is why something that dragged on for years can shift quickly once you bind the strong influence behind it. Jesus used the picture of entering a strong man's house to recover what was stolen. The meaning is clear. Some territories in your life have been treated by dark powers as their living room. They felt at home. To reclaim that space, you must restrain what has been ruling. You do not do this in your own force. You do it by aligning with the one who is stronger and by practicing the fast that he chooses. A prophetic passage describes the fast God delights in. It speaks of loosening bands of wickedness, lifting heavy burdens, freeing the oppressed, and snapping every yoke. Notice the verbs: loosen, lift, free, break. A prayerful fast does all 4. It weakens what holds you, it raises what crushes you, it opens what confines you, and it destroys what tried to brand you. That is why the believer who embraces this rhythm receives a fresh authority. You begin to move through your day with a different center of gravity. You speak less to impress and more to shift the room. The old heaviness does not fit you anymore because the yoke has been shattered rather than polished. The second expression that sends shockwaves through the kingdom of darkness is a fast saturated with praise and worship. Many followers of Jesus underestimate this. Certain breakthroughs arrive only when you exalt God in the middle of pressure. In praise, there is a power you cannot access any other way, because praise is not merely music. Praise is agreement with heaven out loud until your environment has to adjust. There is a moment in the ancient story of Judah where singers were placed ahead of the soldiers. As they praised, confusion invaded the enemy camp, and the threat dismantled itself. The Hebrew idea behind a particular word for praise describes a sound that builds a habitation for God's presence. When you fast and keep praise on your lips and in your home, you build an atmosphere where unclean spirits cannot remain comfortable. During a fast, you cannot afford to sleep away your hours or numb the time with endless scrolling. The point is not to distract yourself from hunger, but to tune your heart. Fill the day with thanksgiving. Walk and whisper scripture. Play worship that lifts your gaze. Every minute you spend in praise while your body is quiet is a minute when the pressure of the enemy is losing its hold. This combination works for a simple reason. Fasting lowers the volume of the body, while worship raises the strength of the spirit. When the flesh is quiet and the spirit is bright, you function from a place of authority resistance cannot contest. There is a midnight scene in the book of Acts where two servants of God sang in a cell after a beating. The ground shook, doors flew open, and chains fell from every prisoner. Praise did not just change their mood. Praise altered the foundations of the environment. That same principle holds. Praise under pressure changes the structure of the room you are in. The third expression the enemy resents is consecration fasting, which means withdrawing from anything that feeds the old appetites. Many people assume fasting is only about meals, then they wonder why nothing deeper shifts. The body is not the only place where desire lives. Sometimes the only way to break a habit that has grown into a fortress is to fast from the inputs that keep it alive. That could mean stepping back from entertainment for a season, curating your music, redefining your social calendar, withdrawing from conversations that keep you stuck, closing tabs that do not serve your mind, changing the hours you are online, and designing your day so there is genuine room to be with God. This is not about becoming antisocial. It is about becoming strategic with your attention. When life is packed with noise and novelty, your spirit receives crumbs. You feel busy, yet barren. Consecration introduces margin. It is permission for God to rewire your inner world. Jesus often withdrew from crowds to be with the Father. If he needed those intervals, how much more do we? The adversary despises this decision because it evicts his systems. He uses entertainment, habits, and hurried relationships to keep you plugged into an atmosphere that blunts your edge. When you fast these inputs, you unplug from that network, and your discernment sharpens. You begin to notice what you used to excuse. You grow comfortable with quiet. Your appetites come under order. In that space, God does slow and deep work, reshaping desires rather than policing behavior. This is where compromise loses its glamour, because your palate has changed. The fourth expression is a fast for revelation and discernment. Here you approach God asking for sight. You ask him to pull back the curtain over your life so you can see root causes, divine timings, and the difference between obstacles you should endure and obstacles you should confront. This is the fast that exposes what hid in plain sight. During this kind of consecration, God opens your understanding and shows you the patterns beneath the problems. You begin to see how a relationship has been steering your choices, how a memory has been editing your decisions, how a fear has been setting the boundaries of your prayers. The enemy fears this light because his work relies on concealment. He trades in confusion and camouflage. When light increases, his leverage evaporates. There is an ancient account of a prophet who abstained for 21 days seeking insight about a vision. In that window, he received not only interpretation, but also intelligence about a conflict taking place in the unseen realm that had been delaying answers. The message to him was simple and strong. From the first day you set your heart to understand, your words were heard, and a messenger was sent, yet resistance contested the delivery. That story reveals something essential for your fast of revelation. You are not shouting into a void. Your prayers register. Your consecration has traction. And sometimes illumination includes understanding that delay is a sign of war, not a sign of neglect. When you fast with a request for sight, you are compelling the darkness to show its hand. You begin to read strategies, timings, and entry points. You start to separate natural inconvenience from spiritual interference. You recognize how certain conversations always precede discouragement, how particular environments leave you confused, how specific hours of the day are vulnerable. With that clarity, you partner with God to address roots rather than pruning symptoms. Combine this clarity with the other expressions, and you will witness results that feel nothing short of miraculous. Years of negative planting are ripped out. Structures that held you for decades crack and fall. The blinders that stopped you seeing the path of God are lifted, and what felt foggy becomes defined. Expect resistance when you choose this path. The pushback is predictable. Hunger pangs louder than normal. Sudden tiredness. Unusual apathy. Irritations that seem trivial, yet keep arriving. Thoughts whispering that fasting is pointless, that you are wasting your time, that nothing is changing. Interpret these not as failure, but as confirmation. Pressure often increases when a door is about to swing. Every hour you stay the course is another hour of defeat for the powers that wanted your surrender. The discomfort you feel is temporary. The advancement that follows is lasting. You will notice the difference not only in your inner life, but in the quality of your decisions, the peace in your home, and the authority in your words. Hold this frame in your mind. Fasting without real prayer is only skipping meals. Fasting without worship is only self-discipline. Fasting without consecrating your inputs is only behavior management. Fasting without seeking revelation is only effort without direction. But when prayer, praise, consecration, and insight move together, you are holding spiritual dynamite. Chains snap. Old blueprints burn. The story changes. Thank you for your time and your hunger to grow. If this helped you, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you never miss content that builds your spirit and strengthens your walk. I speak blessing over your season of consecration. May your fast carry grace, clarity, and freedom in every area of your life.